I made aliyah to Israel by myself. That decision was driven from my need to feel safe. Safe in a country which is free of danger from delinquents and cartels. A country where I can feel connected to my people, its culture, and have a future. Leaving everything behind wasn't easy, but I knew I was on the right path. Nir Oz, a kibbutz near the border with Gaza, I built a home with my partner, Matan Sangoker. Our life was simple, ordinary, full of plans. I owned a bakery, and later I was a manager of a greenhouse. Until October 7, shattered everything. At 6:30 in the morning, my life changed forever. That morning, Matan and I were sleeping at home, surrounded by everything we love. Within minutes, terror was upon us. We wake up to sirens, like every time before. Without imagining that this time, it was not just sirens. It was an attack by armed, funded, and violent terrorists who entered our home with intention to destroy everything dear to us. At first, we heard gunshots and shouts in Arabic, and immediately realized that hell was before us. We looked ourselves in the same room, Matan holding the door with all his might, while I tried to calm our dog Nuni and keep him quiet. But we already know they were going house to house in our kibbutz, Nir Oz, looking to kill, kidnap, and rape. It was our turn. They broke into my house, shooting in everything direction and breaking everything until Matan could no longer hold the door of the safe room. At that moment, we jumped out the window in an attempt to escape death. In that moment, I lost contact with Matan. I hid behind a cabinet on the back porch of my neighbors Gadi and Judith's house. Gadi Haggai and Judith Weinstein Haggai, like so many others in Nir Oz, were murdered on October 7, and their bodies were taken into Gaza. Slowly, I hear the sound of dry lives breaking and the shout of terrorists approaching. And then they grabbed me by my hair, hit me on the stomach, causing me lose my breath. They dragged me across the floor, lift me, and throw me against the wall. They put me guns at me, tried to fill me with my phone. I raised my hands, told them I was Mexican, begging them not to hurt me, not to rape me, not to shoot me, just let me go. The only thing I could think was why my family have to see me end my life like this. The terrorists beat me, humiliated me, touched me all over, threw me on the motorcycle, and took me to Gaza. I saw Nir Oz, the place where we built our life, turned to ash. On the way to Gaza, when they start to touch me and sexual abuse me, I passed out physically and mentally. I couldn't hold it anymore. I guess my body prefers to shut down. They keep beat me because for them I was a prize. I wake up in a storm rain house, lying half naked on rocks, surrounded by Hamas terrorists. I had to beg not to be raped. I'm telling them I was on my period. At first, they didn't understand if I was on my period or I was pregnant, but nevertheless, that made them leave me alone. They threw me a hijab, a dress, at me, and ordered me to get dressed. I didn't know exactly what had been done to my body in those last minutes when I was in condition. But my soul already knew nothing will be ever the same. I was suffering for a fractured jaw, a broken pelvis, ear damage for explosion, and a burn leg. One of the first day, many people came to see me, to play main games. One of them fixated on me. He told me I would never leave, that I was beautiful, that we were going to marry and have children. Even if there is a deal, I will not be released. He handed me with his gun, told me to play with it, and stole all my jewelry. The next day, around noon, they brought me another hostage from Nir Oz. That gave me strength. I realized I wasn't alone. We looked out for each other. After a week, our wars told us that the IDF is going to attack the house, so we need to move to a different place. I found myself walking through the Gaza streets, holding the terrorist's hand as if I were his wife. When we arrived at the other apartment, all of the neighbors came out to see the new prize. They knew exactly who we are. We stayed there for only one day and moved again. This time, they took us to a dirty house full with cockroaches. We slept on the floor with a thin mattress that wasn't a really mattress. We spent over 14 days there with barely any food, almost no water, constant psychological terror, no basic human humanitarian needs, such as medicine, showers, hygienic products. In 55 days in captivity, I lost 12 kilograms, which is around 24 pounds. They did not give me any medicines. No doctor came to see me, even though I told them that I was suffering from colitis and anemia. The terrorists dedicate everything, where we call talk, where we call go to the bathroom, where we call get up. They wake up us in the middle of the night for cruel interrogations. From the moment I was captured, the wars were with me all the time. They did not wear Hamas uniforms. They dressed like civilians. They told me that one of them is a math teacher, and the other one is a lawyer. For 50 days, they made me sure I could not escape. They told us all the time that we would be hostage for 5 or even 10 years. When it was time to eat, they took a lot of food to their room that they have meat, rice, and vegetables. At the same time, they left us with our meal, which contained sometimes as little as 10 chickpeas or a piece of dry flat bread, which wasn't always well cooked. About 4 days before my release, someone knocked on the door. We wake up terrified, thinking we weren't going to be included in the deal. But they came to tell us we were going home. They changed our clothes, moved us, and prepared us to leave. But it was a lie. They transferred me to a hospital. Now I know it was the Nasser hospital. They look us through the back entrance and walk us past all the civilians. In the hospital, there was an area which was closed off and used only by Hamas, with an armored ward. They look us in a room where we meet the third hostage. The next morning, around 10 a.m., they told us again that we are going home. They moved us on another room and made me undress to check I have no surveillance device on me. Later, they briefed us, checked us, gave us supplies, and told us to get into a car waiting outside. But instead of taking us to freedom, they take us to a tunnel. There we see more hostages, some of whom were my friends from my Kibbutz Nir Oz. I saw Eitan Oren and David Cunho there, who still remain in hands of Hamas. It was only then, in the tunnels, after more than 50 days, that I found out that my boyfriend Matan was also a hostage, just a short distance away, but I couldn't reach him. I begged to the terrorists to let me see him. They said later, and made me do different things, such as clean the kitchen, to make me think that after that they will let me see him. Later, never came, and did not get to see Matan. The next day, they told me I was leaving. I refused. I wanted to see Matan. I knew that if I would leave, my soul will remain there in Gaza. But they didn't let me stay. So I left with a hole in my heart. I promised my friend I will do everything in my power to bring them home. And now I'm keeping that promise. People see my face and think I'm free. But freedom is not a switch you can turn on and off. Trauma doesn't vanish once you are released. Now, with every siren, every rocket for Iran, Yemen, or Gaza, I'm throwing back into the held. The difference, I have a safe room. Matan doesn't. He is still in Gaza. You hear about what Hamas has done on October 7. Women were raped, abused, and humiliated, and the world chose silence. Why is our pain treated as less? Why our histories questioned, denied, erased? I am here not just for myself, but for every woman and man who didn't make it home, for every voice which was ignored, for the 50 hostages still in Gaza, for their families. I'm calling on human rights groups and everyone who claims to care, stand with us, speak up, demand the truth, because silence is betrayal. Matan, stay strong. Don't lose hope. Your mom, sister, our dog Nuni, and I are all waiting for you. También estoy aquí.
I am also here. I am also here today as a Mexican woman, because that's where I was born, where the cartels kill and torture people. They call them as they are. Terrorists, criminals, delinquents. The world doesn't hesitate to condemn them. So that's why I wonder why Hamas, who burn children alive, rape women, and mutilate bodies, kidnap children and adults, why are they not condemned in the same way? Why is Hamas considered differently? Why is it not considered the terrorist group that it is? Why are Jewish victims questioned, and why are our accounts questioned when others are immediately believed? This is a double standard, and it's hypocritical. It's not just hypocrisy, it's betrayal.
Of the Council, do not turn away. Do not look for excuses. Do not allow political divisions to silence the voices of victims. Use your influence, your power, your responsibility to demand the unconditional release of every hostage. No tomorrow, not in some distant future, but now. We need to make a deal. People in Israel want this war to end. Bring them home. Bring Matan home. Bring all of them home. Only then I will be able to begin to heal. Only then can the hostages' families begin to heal. Only then we will begin to believe again in the values that the Council was created to uphold. Mr. President, Excellence, I was released after 55 days, but my soul remains in captivity with Matan and all the hostages. Until they return, no one of us truly free. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Elana. Your courage honors us all. On October 7th, Hamas stripped you from your home in Kibbutz Nir Oz with your partner Matan Sangoker. You survived 55 days in unimaginable conditions. You are free, but Matan is not. He has been in captivity for almost 700 days. No freedom, no light, no dignity. You were born in Mexico. You came to Israel more than 15 years ago to build your life as a proud Jew. We know your heart is still with Matan and the others. Your testimony is the voice of those who cannot speak. It is a living reminder of the unbearable suffering that the hostages are still enduring. Their freedom cannot wait. The report on sexual violence in armed conflict confirms what we have always known and what Elana bravely shared. Hamas used sexual violence as a weapon of war. Survivors deserve action, no doubt. Blacklist Hamas now. The Security Council must finally designate them as the terrorist organization they are. So despite all the lies in this room, we will not lose sight of our goal, to bring Matan home, to bring them all home. Council members, some of you have forgotten about Matan. You have forgotten how this all began, and the truth above why it continues. We will not leave them behind. Their freedom cannot wait. That is why the war continues. To free our people and end Hamas's reign of terror. But instead of focusing your attention on the hostages or on the crimes of the Hamas terror organization, a campaign of diversion from these issues continues. An echo chamber that swaps facts for slogans. Look no further for evidence than the IPC report. Maybe we should call it the fabricated report. The IPC lowered its own thresholds to manufacture a so-called famine. It cut the global standard from 30% to 15% for the report only, for this report only, and ignored its second criteria altogether, and I will get to that later. It refused to count most of the aid that did not pass through the UN. It used flawed methods while ignoring the wider data available because it didn't serve its narrative. By design, it misrepresents the true data. Across its many pages, and I'm sure you read some of the report, more than 50 pages, Across its many pages, Hamas is not mentioned even once. The terrorist organization that began this war and steals the aid for its own use is not even mentioned. One of the report's co-authors is Mr. Andrew Seal. Mr. Seal is a radical anarchist who publicly accused Israel of genocide already in October 2023, just days after the massacre of our people. And now, officially, he celebrates the Houthi terrorists as upholders of international law. And he is the one of the co-signer of the report. How could any of you claim this is a legitimate report? If it were any other nation, in any other context, the IPC would publicly apologize for its failures and retract this fabricated report. But because the report demonizes Israel, any claim is taken as fact. And I've listened to you all. Well, how about we examine the actual facts and only then cast judgment? Preliminary analysis by both official Israeli bodies and independent experts indicate that this so-called report includes IPC invented data that did not exist. They invented 182 virtual deaths to reach the threshold of 188, supposedly for famine. So the numbers didn't work for them. There was only 6. So they added 182. So now they can come with this report. Second fact, the IPC cherry-picked data from a survey of 15,749 children. They took data from only 7,519 children, which leads to the desired political result of the report's authors. Third, IPC hid data that contradicts the agenda. The IPC conducted 2 surveys in Gaza and hid one of the surveys in the appendix that shows there is no famine in Gaza. Following these gross forgeries, we are demanding the IPC for the immediate removal of the forged report. Let's continue to examine the facts. Let's speak about the aid. The UN's own records show more than 500 trucks carrying over 46,000 tons of aid have entered Gaza. That's since May 19, 94% of which was food. Yet, according to the UN agenda, if you read carefully, only about 1 in 9 or 8 trucks actually reached their destinations. 1 out of 9. Why? Because armed groups and Hamas terrorists intercepted the rest of the trucks inside Gaza. Not in Israel, not at the gates, not at the checkpoints, inside Gaza. In the same period, more than 7,400 trucks with over 139,000 tons of food and over 2,000 tons of medical supplies entered. But the IPC refused to count them. On the ground, the picture is clear. The crossings are open, despite the daily lies about crossing closures from the mouth of Mr. Tom Fletcher. On a typical recent day, 300 to 400 truckloads are collected inside Gaza, while hundreds more sit waiting on the Gaza side for the UN to distribute it. When partners actually collect and distribute, prices fall. And it's not me saying it or him saying it. You can look at the market price. We have seen the prices of goods fall dramatically, but this fact is also ignored. Prices are the most accurate measurement of shortages. For example, a kilogram of flour has recently fallen by 80% in the markets of Gaza. Non-UN channels are helping to fill the gaps. 90-plus community kitchens are serving 600,000 meals a day. 18 hospitals and 12 field hospitals are operating with tens of thousands of tons of medical supplies delivered. Thousands of patients have been evacuated for treatment. We are powering water lines and a desalination plant so hundreds of thousands could easily access drinking water. We continue to work with organizations committed to humanitarian work, not political incitement. Yesterday, World Food Programme Executive Director Cindy McCain entered Gaza and visited both Deir el-Balach and the Gazan side of the Kerem Shalom crossing to see these efforts herself. But the IPC report hides this reality behind intentionally flawed methods. They lower the bar, exclude the aid they dislike, and publish the worst case possible. That is not humanitarian work. That is diversion. This same diversion feeds the next one, statements that reward terror. Colleagues, we all know that not too long ago, there was progress toward a hostage agreement. Mediators were working. There was hope. Then France and the UK made their announcements about their recognition intentions. Many others followed suit. They gave Hamas an out. They told Hamas that if they agree to a ceasefire and release the hostages, they will get nothing from the international community. They encouraged Hamas to disengage and walk away from the negotiations. To those countries, look at your actions and at Hamas's response to them. When France made its announcement, Hamas called it, and I quote, positive step in the right direction, and urged all states to, and I quote, follow France, and hailed it as the fruits of October 7. That's how Hamas called your statement, the fruits of October 7. When the Dutch foreign minister resigned a few days ago, Hamas praised this resignation and called it a moral and courageous stance. When Australia changed its policy, a Hamas official thanked the Australian Prime Minister for his, quote, political courage. These are the people cheering you on: rapists, murderers, kidnappers. You are supposed to stand for Western values, peace, justice, and human rights, but your policy is applauded by terrorist monsters who continue to hold innocent people hostage. I hope that fact might cause these nations to reflect. So I hope the virtue signaling was worth it, worth the pain of the hostages, worth the pain of their families, worth the pain of the civilians in Gaza whom Hamas uses as human shields and political tools. You have set a precedent. Murder civilians and you will be heard. Take hostages and you will be rewarded. Every terrorist group is watching. The lesson is simple: violence works. Now we look to September, where there may be more statements similar to the New York Declaration, which naively states, and I quote, Hamas must end its rule in Gaza and hand over its weapons to the Palestinian Authority. So I'm asking you, and I will ask the leader that will come here in September, how do you plan on accomplishing this? How exactly do you plan on removing Hamas from the equation? How do you think it will go? You will ask them to disarm? You will ask them to leave Gaza and bring the PA officials? The last time they had any relationship with the PA officials, and Mr. Mansour can agree to that because I don't know if he was there, they threw them from the rooftops in Gaza. They tortured them, the PA officials. That was the last time any PA official was in Gaza. So when you make a statement, how it will work? We know it will not happen from empty UN statements or meaningless summits. We know you leave the real work to us. You may not say it, but you know it too. At least be honest about what your statements really mean. Empowering Hamas and allowing them to continue to exploit the people of Gaza and threaten the people of Israel, that's what it means if they will stay there. And I tell you today, we will never allow that to happen. Mr. President, this Council can keep chasing distractions or return to core principles. The hostages, say their names, demand proof of life, demand they receive aid, medical care, and visits from the Red Cross. Use real pressure on those who hold leverage over Hamas. Make them return the first sentence of every statement in this chamber until they are home. Hamas's rule must end. Any meaningful future for Palestinians and Israelis require it. You cannot build accountable institutions around murderous terrorists. Israel will keep doing the hard work. We will bring our people home. We will dismantle Hamas's war machine. Elana, to you, to Matan's family, and to all the families, we will not be diverted. We will not be deterred. We will bring them all back home.
It's 2025. America's debt is over $37 trillion, and the dollar just had its worst crash since 1973. That puts your savings and your family's future at risk. That's why we trust Alpha Omega Gold, a company that stands unapologetically with Israel and supports Stand Tall Israel. Visit ao.gold/stand to claim your free precious metals wayfinder guide or call 1-855-426-4653 today. Protect your future before it's too late.